Hello, everyone. Hope all you are doing well. Thank you very much for joining us today. We are super excited and happy to have you here for the session on CI/CD with GitHub Action for full stack projects. These days, DevOps practice like CI/CD are essential for automating deployments and speeding up development to ensure applications are reliable and scalable. But just setting up CI/CD isn't enough. The real magic lies in designing smart and efficient pipeline. That's exactly what today's session is all about. We'll explore simple but powerful techniques to build solid CI/CD pipeline using GitHub Action. I'm your host today, Preeti, and now let me introduce to our speaker, Mr. Murali Mohan. Sir is a senior DevOps engineer and corporate trainer with over 9 years of experience in designing, implementing, and maintaining cloud infrastructure solution. Proficient in AWS and skilled at automating deployment process, Sir excels in optimizing system performance and ensuring strong security practices. His expertise lie in orchestrating CI/CD pipeline, managing application with Docker and Kubernetes, and implementing infrastructure as code using tools like Terraform and Ansible. With a passion for staying ahead in the ever-evolving technology landscape, Sir is committed to delivering scalable and reliable solutions that drive organizational success. As a corporate trainer, he has managed end-to-end training operations, understanding client and college requirement, building customized infrastructure, designing curriculum, coordinating with top trainer, and maintaining strong relationship with vendors and agencies. He has successfully delivered 5 software projects and has extensive experience in DevOps and corporate training. Sir has conducted corporate training programs for the top companies like Oracle, Capgemini, Shell, ACL, Lopex, Naresh IT, and many more. Today, we are lucky to have him with us. Make sure you ask questions, take note, and most importantly, have fun learning something new. Let's give a warm welcome to Mr. Murali Mohan. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much, Preeti, for the introduction. Guys, could you please let me know if you could able to hear me? Can I get some responses in the chat box? Yeah, thank you guys. Thank you very much for joining. And also I can see that you guys are texting in the chat box. I can see all your texts, everything. Thank you very much, and we're going to start the session. I'll just, set the context, what exactly that we're going to learn in the today's sessions. We're discussing about like what exactly that we're going to learning, everything. I'm just trying to explain that. So fine, as like Preeti said, today we're going to discussing about like CI/CD implementations by using GitHub Actions, because it is one of the most demanded, I can say about GitOps, the new trending CI/CD pipelines for the organizations. So we just need to understanding about like what is meant by GitOps, and also we have to understanding about what do you mean by CI, and also we have to understanding about like what is meant by CD. And I'm just trying to explaining about like what are the tools that we're covering in this particular demonstrations. We'll see about like everything practically, how we can able to setting up the pipeline from the end-to-end pipeline that we'll be discussing about like in the today's sessions. So yes, like myself, Molly here, I have the completely 10 plus coming very closer to 11 years of experience. And I have my own organization called the Clahan Technologies based out of Bangalore. Basically, we deal with only DevOps and building AI models and performing deployments on the cloud, and we're managing infrastructure. See, currently we have the couple of clients where we are going to manage infrastructure, everything. Okay. So I'm here to share that my experience, knowledge with you guys. So it is going to help you, someone to take the mentoring or guidance. If you guys can follow definitely we can see that good fruit in your career. That is the reason I'm here right now. So fine. So what is our objective right now in the today's session? So what exactly that you're going to discussing about? Like the first we'll be discussing about like what is mean by we can say about like GitOps, and right after that we'll be discussing about like what is mean by CI, and after that we'll be discussing about like what is meant by CD. Now for CI, what are the tools that we'll be using in this particular GitOps here? That we'll be discussing about like I'm just trying to explaining about like what is meant by we can say about like GitHub Actions, and after that we'll be discussing about like how we can able to building a Docker images, and we'll see about like how we can able to push the Docker images into the hub.docker.com. This is the first thing that we'll be discussing about like CI part. In the CD part, we'll be discussing about like, how we can able to deploy the applications by using something it is called as a Argo CD, right? So here, Argo CD, especially for something it is called as a Kubernetes platform. It is especially for the Helm charts. So you will be discussing about like what is exactly meant by Argo CD. In that, you're going to learning about like what is exactly meant by we can say about like Kubernetes, and after that you'll be understanding about like what is meant by Helm charts, and after that we'll be discussing about like how we can able to deploy the Argo CD, and after that whenever you are just trying to make the changes, how we can able to sync the changes with help of the Argo CD. This is the complete what we can say about like end-to-end pipeline that I'm just trying to implementing into this session. Okay, fine. So I hope you guys wherever you see, like if you go to Instagram from everywhere you see that something it is called as a AI is one of the booming or we can say like trending technology, right? So but my question is right now it is nothing but like what you guys understood about like what is meant by GitOps. What do you know about like GitOps? And the next question is like what is the difference between the Jenkins and GitOps? So can I get some responses in the chat box, please? I will just give 2 minutes of time. I just wanted to hear about what is exactly meant by GitOps and what is the difference between the GitOps and Jenkins. I can see the couple of responses like GitHub is for source code management, Jenkins is for CI/CD pipelines, but I'm just expecting the right answer from anyone. GitHub is used to store different versions of the code. See, I hope my question is very clear. My question is, what is difference between GitHub Actions and Jenkins? That is my question. Okay, okay, that's fine. Mm. Source of truth, both are same. Somebody is talking about it. Yeah, next. Both are doing same operations right now. Okay. The repository where it is going to manage the code. Okay, that's fine. I'm very happy that you guys are actively participating. In the sessions. I'm very happy that. So let me first, I'm just trying to explaining about like what exactly it is, and after that, what we'll do that we are just going for the what we can say about the project session. I hope you guys can able to see my screen, right? Um, yes. I see many people are can able to texting that you guys can able to see my screen. So first we have to understanding about like why do you want to setting up the pipelines? So when you're trying to setting up the pipelines, after that we'll see practically how we can do that. See, let's say for example, we have a software development team, right? So whenever we talk about something, it is called as a DevOps engineers. See, DevOps engineers are not going to involve any coding part. See, DevOps is nothing but like it is a methodology. We can say about like it is a mindset. Also, we can say about like it is a set of tools which we are going to use to perform the automations. Now, let's, for example, our job, it is going to start from the, we can say about like, from the when the software development team is going to write the code, right? So DevOps is many people are saying about like it is a combination of development plus operations, right? It is not only up to that, it is going to be beyond that, like so whenever you wanted to create a scalable pipelines and you wanted to create something, it is called as a automations, or DevOps is going to playing a very crucial role in every organizations. Now we have the software development team right now. So whenever we have the software development team, so usually the software development team is going to write a code and they're going to store the code inside the code repositories, right? This is what we have to understanding about like what is exactly meant by code repositories. Like you might be using something it is called as the GitHub, or we can say about like you might be using it is called the GitLab. So all these are what we can call it as a different tools. This is what we can call as the CI/CD tools. Right? I mean to say the code repositories, right? See, once we have going to store the code in this particular GitHub repository, then what is the next step? So what we can able to do that? So next, let's, for example, you are going to check about the security, with respect to of the what we can say about like code. So because right now the whole world it is we can say about like they taking the leverage of the AI. They're going to generating all the code with the AI tools. Like we can go for the Chat GPT, or we can go for the DeepSeek, or we can go with the Devin, or we can go with the Bold.new. So there are many more tools that we have, which is basically going to help you to create something. It is called the source code, right? So we'll take that source code and we can do some modifications. Once you have done some modifications, now we are straight away, we are just going to push the code inside the GitHub repositories. So we are not bothering about like, if the source code contains any vulnerabilities or the bugs or hotspots, anything. That is the reason we have to use something. It is called as a, we can say about like, the Sonar Cube server for check the code quality, right? Now, once we check the code quality, then we have to understanding about like how we can able to deploy the application in something it is called as the Docker containers, right? So the containers is one of the most powerful technique in the world, which is going to perform something it is called as a containerizations, right? So now here we'll be understanding about like why we require something it is called as the containers. So containers are very lightweight and we don't need to allocate CPU memory. It is everything. It is going to be allocated dynamically. And also we don't require something. It is called as a guest operating system. So beyond that, we have to understand Docker is basically going to create a portability of the application. That means, see, let's, for example, we have something. It is called dev environment. We have testing environment. And also we have something it is called UAT environment. So because whenever you're working in IT industry, you have to understanding about something it is called dev environment, and we have to understanding about like test environment. We have to understanding about like UAT environment, and we have to understanding about like the production environment. We just need to understanding about like where we can able to test the application. So once you tested the applications, how we can able to deploy the application inside the server. That is the reason we have to understanding about like what is exactly mean by we can say about like Docker right now. So whenever we talk about something, it is called Docker. See, once we have done this option, then we have to understanding about like how we can able to build the Docker images. That means whenever my software development team is going to provide the what we can say about like code. So the first we have to understanding about like we just need what we can say about like we have the code available in the GitHub repository, right? See, for that, what we have to do, we have to write something. It is called Docker file. With the Docker file, we are going to write something. It is called the Docker image. So this Docker image, you're going to, we can see about like you are just going to pushing inside the hub.docker.com. This is what exactly the chain that we are going to follow whenever we're discussing about like Docker. So once we have pushing the Docker images, we just need to understanding about like there are some disadvantages with the containers. See, the containers doesn't have a feature name. It is called it as a we can say about like self-healing, and we have to understanding about like it doesn't have something. It is called as a auto scaling. So these are the features. It doesn't support what we can call it as a containers. So to overcome these problems, what we can say about like 1 second, I think you might facing some issues. I have a power cut. That is the reason I'm just trying to using the hotspot. Let me sorry for the inconvenient. Yeah. If you guys are getting the same, we can see about like, if you are getting the same kind of the voice breaking, I can recommend you guys to put it in the chat box. I'm happy to take this. Yeah. Yeah. That's fine. Now here we have to understand that we have a GitHub repository. And once we have done, we can just look at here. We have Sonar Cube server. Yes, now it is fine. Okay. Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So we can just look at my screen. Now we have this GitHub repository, the where we can able to store the code. And after that, we are going to use SonarQube server to check the code quality. Now we can see there is something it is called Docker to understanding about like how we can able to create the portability of the applications. That is the reason we had to go for something it is called Docker here, right? So we can just look at here. When you just go for something, it is called as a GitHub. We can see there is something it is called Docker file. And Docker file is nothing but like text document. It contains sort of instructions how you want to run the application in a container. I mean to say we should understanding about like which code that we want to run in a container. See all these things it is going to tell you about something it is called as a Docker file. See after that what we can do that you are just building a Docker image. So once you are just building a Docker image, after that you are just pushing the Docker image inside the hub.docker.com. That is what exactly that we are going to use something it is called as a Docker flow here. The same thing that we are going to use what we can see that. See, Docker image nothing but like it is not same kind of war ER files. See, for example, you are going to working with this Java applications, you are going to build the jar file or war file. So now this artifact, whatever that you are building, this artifact we wanted to deploy inside the container. So that is the reason we have to use something it is called as a Docker file. So now we have something it is called as a Docker, which is going to create something it is called as a portability of the application. See, Docker, it is going to resolve the problem, what we can call as a portability of the applications. And also, we want to use the resources effectively. And my containers are, what we can say about like my containers should be lightweighter. For example, if I want to create a one virtual machines for each and every microservices, it is going to take a lot of cost. And also, if I want to create one virtual machine, definitely we have to pre-allocate RAM, we have to pre-allocate storage, we have to install the guest storage system, we have to install dependencies, we have to install library files. So all these things, it is going to be matter. But if you miss something, definitely your application is not coming back here. That is the reason we had to go for something it is called as a Docker here. Now here, we can just try to understanding about like once we have the Docker, then what we can do that, you have to build a Docker images. This Docker image is nothing but template. It contains your source code. It contains dependencies. It contains all the what we can say about like dependencies, library files, whatever that you need to run the application in something it is called as a Docker image. Definitely, we just need the Docker image here because it contains everything whatever you need to run the application. So once we have done with this building Docker images, so once we have what we can say about like pushing the Docker image, we can say about like inside the hub.docker.com. See, every client has different requirements. See, for example, if my client asking you to, deploy the application Azure platform, in Azure we have something it is called as the ACR, Azure Container Registry, where we can able to store the Docker images. See, for example, if I go to something it is called as a AWS platform, we have something it is called as ECR registry where we can able to store the Docker images. It depends on the client where you wanted to store your Docker images. That is the reason. Once you build the Docker images, this Docker images, it is going to be stored in the specific repositories as per the client requirements. Now, this is the problem with the containers. We can see that if any container goes down, we had to understanding about like it doesn't have the self-healing feature. Self-healing means, see, let's say, for example, I have 100 microservices. I deployed in 100 microservices in different containers. If one microservices goes down, we have to understanding about like that you are not able to access the application right now. That is the reason we have to understanding about like what is exactly meant by the problem with the self-healing right now. So when the traffic it is goes very high, we just need to understanding about like how to perform the auto scaling. This is also one of the problems that what we have right now. And there is something it is called load balancing. Let's, for example, you have deployed the same application, multiple containers. How you want to distribute traffic between all the containers? That is the reason we require something it is called as a the Kubernetes right now. So the same flow that we can need to understanding about like how we can able to deploy the applications. Now to automate the complete things, whatever that you are discussing about right now, that means the moment when the software development team pushing the code in the GitHub repository, I need automation tool to fetch the code automatically. It has to check the code quality and it has to build the Docker images. It has to push the Docker images automatically inside the hub.docker.com. And after that, what we can do that, I just need to perform something is called deployment the application inside the Kubernetes platform here. This is what is the flow that we want to understanding about like how we can able to the create a pipeline. See, whatever that you are looking at my screen, the same kind of pipeline that we are going to implementing in today's session. Now, how we can able to automate the complete thing right now? That is the reason we have to go for something it is called as the GitHub Actions. See, apart from GitHub Actions, we can see about like there is something it is called as a yep. So we have something it is called as a like Jenkins. We have Team City. We have Circle CI. We have Bamboo. There are different automation tools are there in the market. So, but we have to understanding about like what is exactly meant by GitHub Actions. Why do you want to do something? It is called as a GitHub Actions right now. See, GitHub Actions is one of the what we can say about like CI/CD tool. So, what is exactly meant by a CI, or we can say about like CD here? So CI stands for continuous integration and CD stands for what we can call the continuous delivery or we can say about like continuous deployment. That means the first we have to understanding about like what exactly it is. See the moment when the software development team has pushed the code, my we can see about like GitHub Actions tool. We just need to understanding about like what is exactly it is. So my GitHub action, this is what we can call it as a GitHub Actions, right? So if we just go to here right now, if I have something, it is called the GitHub Actions, which I'm going to use to create the CI/CD pipelines. The moment when my my automation tool GitHub Actions trying to pull the code, it is once it is pull the code, then automated is going to push the code inside the it is going to clone the code. It is going to fetch the latest commit ID, and after that, it's going to send it to the SonarQube server to check the code quality. After that, it is going to sending this particular code to Docker or to build the Docker images. After that, it's going to automatically push the Docker images to GitHub repository. Now, for see most of the cases, so far with my experience, whatever which I have, even I go for the client meetings, we'll tell you about like this is what we are going to implementing for a security perspective. This is what we are implementing for CI purpose. This is what we are implementing for CD purpose. So most of the cases, we are going to use something in GitHub Actions to create something it is called CI pipeline. So when I say something it is called CI, nothing but like continuous integration. What do you mean by continuous integration right now? See, the moment when the software development team has pushed the code in my GitHub repository, my GitHub Actions tool, it is has to pull that code. It is has to, you can see about like give the code to my SonarQube server. It has to build the Docker images. It has to push the Docker image to hub.docker.com. Here we are not deploying any application inside the containers. You are just trying to pushing the Docker images inside the hub.docker.com. Now, for many organizations for this particular deployments, what we can do that. So we are using something it is called as a Argo CD right now. So whenever we talk about something, it is called as a Argo CD. This is we are going to use something. It is for we can say about like it is going to using for the continuous delivery, or we can say about like continuous deployment process. I'll tell you about like why we are going to use something. It is called Argo CD. Why we are not going to prefer this particular what we can say about like um, GitHub Actions right now. So now this is nothing but like my Argo CD. So whenever you are trying to deploy the application in Kubernetes platform, so we write something. It is called as a manifest files. So this manifest files we are going to convert into something. It is called as a Helm charts. So this Helm charts you want deploy in a Kubernetes platform. So we are going to use something. It is called as a Argo CD. So Argo CD especially we designed. CNCNF, it is an open source project, especially for deploying the application inside the Kubernetes platform. That is the reason we had to use something. It is called as a Argo CD right now. Yeah. So now here, we just need to understanding about like how we are trying to implementing the complete architecture, whatever that we have written right now. Let me come back and I'm just showing about like how this architecture is looks like and how you wanted to implement the architecture. So if you look at my screen, this is how you wanted to draw the architecture. If you are going to become the what we can say about like DevOps engineer, or we can say that we have a person called as a DevOps architect. So this DevOps architect is responsible for writing this particular architecture right now. If you look at the clear understanding about like architecture, you will understanding about like what we are trying to implementing. So this is one of the client architecture. That's what we have implemented right now. We can see this is what we can call DevOps in the news, right? And we can see about like we have something it is called as a application code that we have written inside the Visual Studio Code right now. And after that, we see about there's something it is called as a the source code which is available in the GitHub repository, right? That is the reason GitHub is came with a solution name. It is called as a it has came with a solution is why can't we introduce something it is called as a CI/CD platform. That is the reason they introduced something it is called CI/CD platform. It is that means we just need to understanding about like how many CI/CD things that we can able to achieve with this particular automation tools. So the first one we can implement continuous integration, we can implement continuous testing, we can implement continuous delivery, we can implement continuous deployment, we can implement continuous monitoring, continuous improvements. So all these C parts, we can say about like 7 Cs that we can able to implement with help of the what we can say about like with help of this particular options right now. So let me show you about like how we can able to implement this particular architecture right now. So this is especially I have drawn this architecture for this today's session right now. We can see about like this is nothing but like my software developers right now. So where the software developers are going to write a code. So now when the software developers write a code, they're going to push the code inside the GitHub repositories. So GitHub is come up with the inbuilt solution name. It is called the GitHub Actions. So in GitHub Actions, we're defining about runners, we're defining about like jobs. So what exactly that you wanted to implementing over there. Now, because my code is available inside the in GitHub, right? That is the reason we are just going to choose a product, what we can call as the GitHub Actions, or we can say GitOps. Nothing but like how we can able to manage a code, how we can deploy the applications, how we can able to manage this complete operations. That's where we have to use something it is called as a GitOps right now. So once if we just go for something it is called as a GitHub right now, where we can able to store your code. And now we can see that we are going to write something it is called as a GitHub Actions. So GitHub Actions is basically it is going to defining about like, what kind of activities that you want to do that. See, whatever that we have written in here, the same kind of activities up to pushing the application, or we can see how we can able to build the Docker images. So how we can able to push the Docker images to hub.docker.com. So everything that we are going to implementing hub to what we can say about like hub.docker.com right now. So this is what exactly that we are going to implementing. So we write something it is called as a GitHub action with help of the YAML file. So whenever you write the manifesto files, everything that we can write by using this particular YAML scripting, YAML is what we can call it as a 8 markup language, right? This is nothing but like my architecture. If we just little bit zoom it out, we can see that you have to write the GitHub Actions workflow. So like you are defining about like triggers, You have defining about like, jobs, what jobs that you are implementing. After that, we have to push the code inside the GitHub repository. And what we can do, the next step is nothing but like, you have to create a pipeline to build the Docker images and the push the Docker images inside the what we can say about like Docker Hub right now. So once we have Docker images that we have, pushing, then we have to create something. It is called cluster to deploy the applications because we are deploying the application inside the Kubernetes platform, nothing but like Kubernetes cluster, right? So whenever you deploy any application in Kubernetes, we should understand that you are deploying the application inside the Kubernetes application by using what we can call as a Masterclass application. So this is what we are going to use something. It is called as a Masterclass. Now we can just look at here. This is what we can call as my infrastructure repo. See, nothing but like where we can able to write the complete code or to bring the complete infrastructure by using Terraform script. So Terraform is again what we can call as IAC tool, right? When you say something, it is called as IAC. IAC stands for infrastructure as a code, right? So whenever you want to create a dev environment, whenever you want to create something, it is called as a EOD environment. And whenever you want to create something, it is called production environment. So everything that you're going to implement is something, it is called as a IAC tools. So now here we can see that whenever we talk about something, it is called as infrastructure as a code. So we have to understanding about like how we can able to create the infrastructure by using something, it is called as a we can say about like by the Terraform script right now. So once we have understood about like what is Terraform here, we can see that there is something, it is called dev environment or test environment, or we have something, it is called as a production environment. So depends on the client how many environments that we are trying to creating. Let's for example, you have the cluster. We just need to understanding about like how we can able to create it. See, for dev test, we are going to creating one cluster. For UAT, we are going to create other cluster. For production, we are going to create one more cluster right now. So now we can just look at here. Now this is where we are trying to creating cluster. We're going to deploy the application inside the clusters. This is complete architecture which talking about like how we can able to setting up the pipeline and how we can deploy it. Even if you look at this application, this architecture also, you will understand this is one thing, but like my cluster, and you're trying to creating the application deploy inside the cluster right now. And now here, let me just go back. I'll explaining about like what exactly that we are going to implementing here. The first we'll see about this vector flow. So how we are trying to creating something, it is called the pipeline right now. The first one, we have to create something, it is called as the GitHub Actions YAML file, right? So if you look at the screen here, I have the one application here. So this is nothing but my application. It has a front end, it has a back end. It is nothing but like, one e-commerce application. If we just go for the public, we can see about like I have my all my source code is available. And if you just go for something, it is called as a, yeah, we can see about like server.js file. It is nothing but like, Node.js applications, and we have used the JavaScript, and we use something, it is HTML, CSS, complete, we can see about like the front end. And for the back end, we're going to use something, it is called as a MongoDB right now. This is nothing but like my MongoDB server, which is going to be stored my data in my backend. So first, you have to identify what is the stack they have used to implemented this particular application. We are going to use something, it is called front end for Node.js, for HTML, CSS, JavaScript. For backend, we're going to use something, it is called as a DB, nothing but like database that we have used. Now, this application that we have to deploy inside the Kubernetes platform. That's what our ultimate goal, right? Let me show you about like how we can able to do that. Now, if we just go back here, we can see that there is something, it is called Docker file. This is what you have to write to understanding about like how we can able to Dockerize the application, how we can deploy the application inside the containers. Now I'm defining about like on which platform I want to run the application. We are trying to creating something, it is called work directory. After that, you are just copying all these particular dependencies. You're trying to install dependencies. After that, what we have to do that, you are just trying to copying whole source code inside the what we can say about like my work directory. And this application that you want to expose on the 3130 port number, and you want to start this application inside the container. This is something that we have to understanding about like what you are trying to implementing. Okay, this is something that we have to what we can call as a Docker file. Now I want to build the Docker images. How we can able to deploy build the Docker images, how to push the Docker images. See, for this, definitely we require something. It is called as a hub.docker.com. See, I have my hub.docker.com where it contains the Docker images, whatever which I are building, all the Docker images that I have to create, and I want to push the Docker images inside the hub.docker.com here. So we can see about like this is now what we can solve as my repository, and this is nothing but like my repository name. This is nothing but library of the Docker images. It is a public, so it is a free of cost. If you want to, you can see about take license. Yes, there is an option we have available for premium. We can go ahead and we can able to create a premium, and we can able to create private repositories, and we can able to store all the Docker images in the private repositories. See, for example, if you look at the Flipkart application, Flipkart has 602 microservices it has, if you believe or not. Because when I attended the KubeCon Delhi event, they came for presentation. They have presented about their architecture. They explained that how they have deployed all the application Kubernetes platform, how they are going to manage their microservices. It has one of the biggest application in the world. We can say about like, it has we can say about like 602 microservices it has. Now we are going to discussing about like how we can able to see like how we can able to create a Docker images, how we can able to push that. See, for that we have to write something. It is called the GitHub Actions workflow, the YAML file that we have to write it. Now we can see that there is something. It is called as a, this is nothing but like my the source code, everything, right? See, if we go back to your what we can say about like 1 second, if I'm just trying to use a command called as a git pull command, it is just pulling all the changes whatever that we have. See, if we see there is something, it is called as a .github, right? So this is nothing but like hidden file .github. Under that we can see there is something. It is called as a workflows. Under workflows there is a YAML file that we have, nothing but like docker-image.yaml file. Nothing but like I have written the YAML file. We can say that to build the Docker images, to push the Docker images inside this particular hub.docker.com. This is nothing but like my GitHub repository, guys. You are going to get the lot of open source projects. You can able to fork it. You guys can clone it. You can practice whenever you want. This is nothing but like the current repository what we are going to implementing. So we can see there is only we have one branch that we have. The branch name we can say about like main branch. If we go to this particular GitHub right now, and we can go for the Docker-image here. This is a YAML file. It defines about like how we can able to build this particular what we can say about like Docker image. The first, this is nothing but like name of the pipeline. The name of the pipeline is showing about like build and push the Docker images. We can see that there is something. It is called branch. In see, there are different branches that we have. For example, for dev environment, you'll be having one branch. For testing environment, you'll be having one branch. And we can see about like for UAT environment, we'll be having one branch. For production releases, we'll be having one more branch. See, branching technique is very, very important. You guys understanding about like why branches required, what is the PR request, how to write the PR request, how we can able to merge the changes. So when you're trying to merging, what kind of challenges that you're going to face, everything is very, very important. We have to understand right now. So this is something that we have to understanding about like what is exactly mean by the 1 second we got to forward. Yeah. So now if you just look at here, if you just try to understanding about like what is a branch right now. So right now we have, look at my screen, there is only one branch called as a main branch. Now after that, we can see that I'm just trying to setting up the environment variables. Because whenever I'm just trying to building my Docker image, see, I don't want, we can say about like, I don't want to provide the tags manually. Because whenever the software development team is trying to make some changes in this particular Docker, and we can see that whenever they're trying to done some modification the source code, see, every microservices has different features. So every time they're going to implement they're going to release different features in the market. For example, you take the WhatsApp. See, WhatsApp doesn't have this many features when they come, they introduce the WhatsApp. in the very the first stage. But later on, they added the what we can say about like update statuses, or we can see we can do the API payment, or we can able to disable messages. Now we can able to upload the 1 minute video length, and also we can see that like we can able to add the music. I mean to say there are different features they are going to add one by one. The same thing whenever you are going to developing any application, all the features will not going to implementing at the same time, right? We're going to implement something it is called as the agile methodology. In agile, every feature is going to come in with a sprint. For example, right now my customer, every weekend they'll come and they'll say we have a release. Get ready with your team. That means we should understand that every day, every time, whenever they're going to make some changes in the code, we have to rebuild the Docker images and we have to give different tag to each and every feature. That is the reason I am trying to setting something it is called as a, this is nothing but my image name. See, image name will not change. For any microservices, image will not change. Only the Docker tag will be changed. So we can identify like 1.1, 1.2, 1.3 or 1.4 or 1.5. This is what we have to understanding about like what are the different we can see about like Docker images that we have. Now this is nothing but like Docker image tag that we have like 1.0.0. Now, whenever you wanted to define the different stages, all the stages that we have to write inside the jobs right now. So as per the diagram, how many stages that we require? So if I'm just trying to remove this stage, now what I can do that, I'm just trying to add these stages right now. What is the stages right now? See, I have to, I just wanted to understanding about like how we can able to clone the code. So once we just clone the code, after that we have to build the Docker images. So once I'm just trying to building a Docker images, after that I have to push the Docker images. Now this, my source code, Docker file, everything is available inside the GitHub repository here. Right, let me show you about like how we can able to do that. Now this is nothing but like my jobs here. See, whenever you wanted to build this particular Docker images, definitely we need what we can say about like, we need something, it is called it as a, one mission or one server that we required. So we're going to run in this pipeline with help of the Ubuntu here. Now we can just look at here the steps. What are the steps right now? The first step, we are going to check out the code. The second step, we are trying to building a Docker images. And after that, what we can do, we are trying to log into the Docker images with the username password. See, we should not hard code any credentials, whatever that we required. So we have to store all the credentials in the secrets. And after that, you have to build the Docker images and you have to push the Docker images inside the hub.docker.com. See, the tags, we are trying to take something, it is called the environment variables, right? So let me show you about like how we can able to push the Docker images building right now. See, I am going to make some changes in the code. After that, I'm just trying to committing here. So if you look at this option, we have something, it is called as a, we can see that there is something, it is called trigger that we mentioned about it. So what is the trigger that we have mentioned right now? See, build and push, and we can see it runs on the Ubuntu mission. This is nothing but like, tags that we have given. After that, we can see that this is nothing but like how we can able to understanding about like what we are trying to the pushing here. Let me show you about like how we can able to perform this particular automation pipeline. Now, this is for what we can call a CI pipeline, continuous integration. Now, go back to your GitHub repository right now. Now, we can see that whenever you want to trigger this, we can see the mentioning about like push here. So whenever I'm just trying to push some code, when I'm trying to commit some code on this particular branch called as a main branch, when this pipeline has to trigger automatically. Now this is nothing but like Docker image. Now you go back to your, we can see about like your pipeline. Now click on the edit here. So whenever you click on the edit here, I'm just trying to adding right now. For example, I'll see about like updating the, we can see updating version. We can see about like 1.1. That is nothing but like version that I'm trying to updating. Now here, once we have done these options, let's see now, the moment when I'm trying to commit the changes, it is going to make the changes. So let's say, for example, I go back to my, again, that build-.yaml file. Let's go back to the workflow. Now let's, for example, I made some changes in the GitHub repository. Now, if you click on the edit this file, now once I made some changes, I wanted to make this version, nothing but like, 1.1 is my version. Now click on the commit some changes. See, once you click on the commit here, the moment if we go to the actions now, we can see the pipeline will trigger automatically. We can see this is going to be triggering your pipeline. So look at here, build and push. My pipeline is got triggered. We can see it is going to running the pipeline. If we click on this one, we can see about like what is the jobs that we have mentioned about it. Now it is going to rebuilding the Docker images right now. And after that, we can see about like it is going to post build. It is going to be first log into Docker Hub. After that, is going to be using the what we can say about like pushing the Docker images inside the hub.docker.com. We can see currently the moment when commit the code, we can see about like it is trying to building a Docker images. The first we can see that we have set the job. It is going to check out the latest code. If you click on this one, we can see that it is going to check out the code. And after that, you see about this is going to be cloning the code, whatever that we have in the GitHub repository. After that, it's going to log into this particular credentials. So now, once we have done this particular options right now, we'll see about like what exactly it is doing right now. So you are just trying to log into the hub, Docker Hub. After that, what we can do that you are just trying to build and we are going to publish the Docker images. Now we are trying to building a Docker image. So once you are just trying to building a Docker image here, we can see that we are just log into the Docker Hub. And after that, we can see about like we are going to check out the code and we can see that we have the push the code, push it right now. So where we have pushed that, if we go back to your hub.docker.com, if you click on this now, there is something it is called AWS Retail Hyphen App. We can see that if we go back to the AWS Retail Hyphen App, this is nothing but like my Docker image, right? So once you just go back to Docker images, if we click on the tags now, we can see about like this is nothing but my latest tag, nothing but like v1 dot. We can see about like 1.0. This is my Docker image which I'm just trying to building, and we push the Docker images into the hub.docker.com. See, I have not done anything manually. Everything we have done automation automatically with help of the script here. That is the reason we have to understanding about like how we can write this particular the YAML file. So look here, the complete workflow, whatever which we have written, we can see about like, the complete workflow, it has executed automatically, triggered my pipeline. It is built, it is done everything automatically. I hope you guys are clear so far. Could you please confirm once in the chat box? Now, the next job we have to understand. The next job is, yeah, the very simple. If we go back to the YAML file, see there are some questions. Okay. Go back to your YAML file. Whatever that you written, go back to the workflow. In the workflow, we had to go to Docker images. We can see that I have mentioned trigger on the push mechanism on the branch. Whenever you have done some commit inside the main branch, it is going to be automatically trigger my pipeline. Now we are trying to setting up environment variable, nothing but like my Docker image name and the tag here. Under jobs, we see like what you are trying to do it. I'm just trying to looking the options right now. We can see about like the steps like build and push. The first step you're trying to check out the code. The second step is nothing but you're setting up the building a Docker images. You are logging in. After that, you are trying to push in the Docker image to hub.docker.com. This is what you are trying. This is all this what we can call as the variables. You are trying to get this particular secrets that the username that we have stored in this particular. See, whenever you wanted to store the secrets, nothing but like your username, password for any tools, definitely we had to go to settings. Under settings, if we come down, we had to go for the option name. It is called secrets and variables. And we had to go to actions. Under actions, we can see that there is something, it is called the secrets that we have stored. Because my hacker should not get the secrets. That is the reason we should understanding about like how we can able to store your secrets. So once we stored your secrets, then we had to go for it. Now this is completely done this portion, right? I mean to say we have completely done with this portion. Now we have to understand about like how we can deploy with help of the Kubernetes, the platform application by using Argo CD right now. Yeah. So let me show you about like how we can able to do that. The first option, I have my cluster right now. This is my cluster. If we go to here, 1 second, I'm just trying to reset the session here. if I'm just trying to, this is what we can call as my best in host. See, whenever you're trying to creating a cluster, please try to set up a cluster with help of the a private endpoint. Don't create a public endpoints. Now, if you go back to your AWS account, this is nothing but like my AWS account. Where is the AWS account? 1 second. Yeah, I'm just logging to the AWS account here. This is nothing but like my AWS account. So now if we just go back here, we can see that there is something it is called as a services. Under services, if we go to the containers, there is service name is called as a Elastic Kubernetes services. This is nothing but like in a platform, which is going to what we can call as a managed clusters that we can able to manage by the EKS service and the AWS. Right now, if we go back to the clusters here, we can see that there is a one cluster is available on the region called as a North Virginia. This is the where I have setting up my cluster everything. We can just look at it. The cluster name is Shine-test-cluster. Now inside the cluster, we have created something. It is called as a two worker machines I have created. If we come down, if we type the command called as a kubectl get, we can say about like, nodes right now. I have the two nodes here available. This is a one node is available. And there is no, look at here, another node is also available right now in my, what we can say about like, yes. So this is something that we have to understanding about like, what is exactly mean by, this is what we can call as the nodes. There are two nodes that we have. This is the one node. And also we can see about like another node also that we have. There are two nodes that we have inside my cluster. Now we want to deploy the application here. So whenever you want to deploy the application, first we need to understand that how we can ever deploy your, Argo CD first. Now, first I have to deploy the Argo CD. After that, I'm just trying to deploy my, what we can say, deploying my application. I'll show you about it. This documentation is going to help you about like how we can able to install the Argo CD here. See, there are different approaches that we're going to follow that whenever you are going to deploy the Argo CD. So let's see now, if we go to that Argo CD installations, this is nothing but official documentations. If you go to this official documentation, you're going to get the complete details about like how you want to setting up the Argo CD and how to log into the command line, how to install it. We can see about like how we can able to log into CLI. This is very, very important. You guys need to stay back another 30 minutes. After that, I'll take up the questions. So now this is nothing but like, this is nothing but like my Argo CD here, right? Now let me try to show you about like how we can able to deploy the Argo CD. The first, I have to install the Argo CD. Before that, I'm just trying to creating the namespaces, everything. Let's go back here. I'm just trying to create the yeah. So why I'm back. I don't know why today there is a power is very fluctuating. I'm just trying to restart the session. 1 second. We had to go back to the sudo su. Nothing but you are going to become the root user. That's my clear my screen. And after that, what we have to do, we are just trying to use the command called as a, uh, we can see about like, the kubectl get nodes. I will look at my screen. This is nothing but like my nodes are available. Now we have to do first take this particular application with the help of the Argo CD now. Go back here. Now hit the enter. We can just look at my screen. I'm just trying to deploy this particular Argo CD with help of the Helm charts. After this, what we have to do it. Now I have to go back to this particular namespace. I have to create one namespace called as a retail now. Go back to that namespace. We are trying. I'll tell you about like why I'm just trying to creating. Yes. Now type the command called as a keep curtail, and we can see that there's a command called create command ns. Go for the retail. This is nothing but like namespace that we have created. And after that, we have to first understanding about like we have to install the Argo CLI. So because I want to log in from the command line, so that is the reason we had to go for the CLI. We can see that I'm just trying to install the CLI. And after that, now we want to access the Argo CD. How we can able to do that? The first we had to patch with this particular load balancers, right? So go back to this particular command, which is going to be nothing but like how you want to expose the application Argo CD by using load balancer. And we had to do the port forwarding here. So just type the command called kubectl port. We can see about like in it showing about like 8080 and 443, which is nothing but like we are going to do the port forwarding. So how we can able to expose this particular Argo CD right now? Let me show you about it. Now, if we type the command called as a kubectl, we can see about like get all. And after that, I'm just trying to provide the -n. Type the command called as a Argo CD. This is nothing but my namespace. Now we have to go back to this particular services. Under services, we can see this is nothing but like my load balancer ID. So go back to this is nothing but my load balancer. Now we have to go and we are trying to access your load Argo CD here. So it works port number, we can see about like 80. And once you hit the enter, and you see that you are able to access your Argo CD. If you click on the proceed with the Argo CD, we can just look at here and say, my Argo CD is got that we are able to deploy and we are able to access your Argo CD. It is going to ask you about like username, password. Let me show you about like how we can able to get the username password. So if you want to get the initial password with the Argo CD by default, we have to execute this command because everything that I'm just doing from the command line, it is a one-time setup that we are doing it for organizations. We can see that this is my password. So let me just copy the password here. And we had to go back to my Argo CD. The username, we can see that I'm going to mention about like admin. And we had to put this particular password. Now, if you click on this sign in here, we can just look at here that you are able to, log into this particular Argo CD. This is something that we have to understanding about like how we can able to log in with the Argo CD. 1 second. I'm just trying to. Yeah. So if anyone would like to connect and you wanted to get clarified, you guys can able to follow this. Okay, that's fine. Now this is nothing but like my Argo CD here. So this is what we can call as Argo CD that we have deployed. Now what we have to do it right now. Now we have to understanding about like how we can able to reset the password, right? Now here we had to go back to we had to log in from the console, go to this particular my cluster, and here we had to put the URL of your Argo CD here. Let me explaining about like how we can do that right now. This is nothing but like my Argo CD URL. Go back here and just copy this particular everything, the URL of the Argo CD, and hit the enter. We can see that I'm just trying to log into this particular Argo CD here. Now, don't put something it is called as HTTPS because it is not secure, right? Now here we can just go back. I'm just trying to put something it is called as a 80 is a port number. This is load balancer ID and put the load, we can say about like port number. So once we can see about like it is not able to access this particular port number, we can see that I'm removing it. Hit the enter, we can see that there is something it is called as a, no such host that we have. Yeah, let me go back here. I'm just trying to use something it is called as a, yeah, go back here and put this particular Argo CD and mention about the login here. So now hit the enter, we can see that you are not able to log in with help of the showing about like unknown port number. It is not showing about like any port number, right? So, okay, there is some issue here. If it just clearly look at here, I'm just trying to put something, it is called port number. the port number, which I'm just trying to mention about like 80. And we can see that it's just too many colons. There is some colon that we have to understand where it is the colon. Yeah. Yes. 1 second. I have to go back. I just need to remove that HTTPS. Yeah. Now it's working here. Now hit the S. It is going to ask you about like the password is admin. And after that, we had to copy this particular login, nothing but like password. This is, you can't able to see that, but we just need to understanding about like you have to paste it. Now you have logged in correct, you have logged in from the command line. So once we logged in, after that, what we can do that, you have to update the password. So how we can able to update the password? We have to use a command called as a argo cd account, and we have to use a command called update password. Now this is, look at my screen. This is nothing but how we are trying to updating your password. So enter the current password of your, we can say about like Argo CD. This is nothing but like my Argo CD current password, right? If we come down, this is nothing but like my current password. Once we hit the enter, now we have to put the new password. I'm just trying to enter the password, whatever that I need it. See, it won't, you can't able to see the password here. So very first thing that we have to understanding about like how we can able to update the password. See, once you update it, we can see it is going to be log out your Argo CD. Now again, we have to log in back with a new password. Now let me go back here, put the 2024. If you click on the sign in, you can see that you are able to up and you are logged into the Argo CD. Right now, I don't have any applications. I'll tell you about like how we can deploy this. Now, if you want to sync with Argo CD, first we have to register the Argo CD with the cluster. So how we can do that right now? We are going to get the cluster name. If you execute the command called kubectl get context -o, see, context is nothing but it's tell you about like what is your current cluster that we have right now it is running. Now, if you look at my screen, there is something it is called Shine cluster, right? This is the cluster that we have right now, where we have created a cluster and we have to register this cluster. So how we can able to register that? We have to use a command called as a go for the Argo CD and type the command called cluster and add command. This is nothing but like you are just trying to adding your cluster here. So once we execute this command, once you provide the cluster name, so once you hit the enter, see you're going to get one URL. That URL, you have to copy this. It is very important. If you don't copy this URL, now once you just copy this URL, you have to update in your GitHub repository. So where we can able to update that, we have to go to the GitHub repository. In the GitHub repository, if we go to there is something, it is called it as a retail chart right now. And if we go to inside that, there is something, it is called as the templates. In templates, we have something, it is called as the argo-application.aml file. In this AML file, if we go there, if you click on the edit this file, if we come down, we can see there is something, it is called destination server, right? This server, we have to change the destination server. If we don't change, definitely you won't get this sync here. Now, once we make the changes here, we have to commit the changes. I'm trying to give in the new commit ID here. Let's say updated the new URL in Argo. That is what the commit ID which I'm giving. You click on the commit changes here. So once we just done with the commit changes right now, and after that, if we go back to your, we can see about like, this is nothing but like my, how we can able to done with all the steps. This is, if you don't these steps, definitely you can't able to get, whatever that we needed to do it. Now I wanted to install the Argo rollout server also. Let me go back here. I'm just trying to creating one namespace. See, whenever you want to perform the rollout and rollback operations, you want to see in this particular dashboard. So definitely we just need something, it is called as a Argo rollout server. Now this is what exactly that we are doing it right now. So once it is done, now we look at my screen. I have this particular application right now. The application name is you can see Shine.com and GitOps project, right? Let me clone this project inside the GitHub repository here. Let me go back here And once we just go to here, type the command called as a git clone. Okay. Now hit the enter. You are just trying to cloning the code. If you go back to this particular repository, now type the ls command. We can just look at here. We have the complete, everything that we have. So now here, I have converted my application into the Helm charts. If you look at my screen, you complete Helm charts available inside this folder. We can see about retail iPhone chart. Whenever you are creating the Helm charts, you have to understanding about like three things. The first one, chart.ml file and values.ml file. And after that, we have to understanding about templates. So what is exactly mean by templates? Why do you wanted to create something? It is called templates. So templates is basically contains the, templates is basically contains complete, your YAML files. Whenever you write something, it is called deployment.yaml file. And you write something, it is called it as a, yeah. If you write something, it is called as a service.yaml file. And you write something, it is called as a, what we can say about like, your config maps, your secrets, and you're performing something, it is called as auto scaling. See, whatever that you have to do it, the complete things that we can able to do it with the help of this bucket templates. So templates is very important. We should understanding about like you're trying to keep everything inside this buckler, what we can say about templates here. See why? Because for example, if we have something, it is called as a 100 microservices that we have. I don't want to write, let's for example, every microservices definitely you required to write deployment.yaml file, service.yaml file, config.yaml file, secrets.yaml file, and autoscaling.yaml file. And also you have to write something, it is called as a volumes. Like that, every Kubernetes application that you want deployed, definitely we have to write the different YAML files. Now, all the YAML files, I'm just trying to keep inside the templates here. We can see this is nothing but like my Argo application, right? So now this is nothing but like, whenever you want to create application, the Argo CD, this YAML file, it is going to help you right now. This is nothing but like name of the application. This is nothing but like repository URL. What is the repository URL? We have to make some changes in the repository URL. This is nothing but like my repository URL of my application. If we go back here, we can see about like we had to mention about like, the repository URL. This is where you're trying to make some changes here. The target division, we can see that I'm just trying to creating something. It is called as a the main branch where I have my everything. It is available. Now, if you just look at here, where is the Helm charts is available? The Helm charts available inside the retail iPhone chart. We can see this is nothing but like user profile, and this is nothing but like my destination and the namespace. This is nothing but going to be deployed on the retail namespaces, my application. Now, if we go back to this option name, it is called as a user profile Argo rollout. You see that there is something it is called Docker images. Which Docker image that I'm just trying to deploying inside the server. See everything, whatever you are trying to update it, the MongoDB URL, you're trying to provide the images, everything. I have passed something it is called as a values.ml file. See, whenever you're going to working as a DevOps engineer, when you want to deploy the application inside the dev environment or UT environment and deploy the application in the production environment, definitely we should understand that we have to make some changes inside the values.ml file. So you are going to maintain the values YAML file for different environments separately. If you look at this particular, what we can say about like my architecture, that whatever that we have written, we can see in that architecture I have completely, has mentioned about like we had to mention we had to create dev.ml dev-values.ml file for the dev cluster. For production, you're going to create something it is called as a production-values. So whenever you want to make some changes inside this vector, whenever you want to go for the new releases, you're trying to make some changes inside the values.ml file. So here, this is the image that we are deploying inside the Kubernetes cluster. And we can see that my backend is nothing but like MongoDB. And this is nothing but like, my server that, my replica count, how many replicas that I wanted to manage, I want to create that. Now, what I can do that, I'm just trying to make some changes, right? Once we made some changes, we have to save all the changes. After that, we have to use a command called as a git. Now add, I need to push all the changes. Type the command called as a git commit -m. Let's say here, I'm just trying to mention about like changes. And after that, type the command called git push. And we can go for the origin. I'll try to use something, it is called master. You're trying to pushing all the changes inside the master. Now, once you hit the enter, we can see that you are just trying to pushing. Now the branch name, it is main, not master. So let me try to put something, it is called as a main branch. So all the changes that whatever that we have done, we can see about like we are pushing all the changes here. So now here, if it we can just look at here, if we have done any changes inside the GitHub repository, first we have to pull the changes. We can see that it is going to be something, it is called as a merge conflict, right? So we had to first, we can see understanding about like why it is a merge conflict. Now let me just mention about like, the changes here, execute, now hit the enter. We can see there is some changes that we have done, right? Now, once we have done the changes, after that, what we can do that we had to push and we had to commit all the changes, whatever that we have done. See, now if we go back to the argo-application.yaml file, we can just look at here, the whatever that we have done, all the changes we have, we can see about like we have done, we have the push all the changes into the main branch. Now, if we go back to your cluster, now we'll see about like how we can able to create a chart. You want to create a chart first. We have this a command called as a helm install. And after that, we had to mention about like the release name and chart name. So I'm just trying to mention about like, helm install. I'm mentioning about like retail app. And where is this particular helm charge that we have? We can say about retail, right? This is nothing but like, my go for the retail. Now hit the enter, we can see whether you are going to creating a chat or not. Now we can see that there is one namespace that is default namespace, status is got deployed. And we can see about like a revision is equal to 1. If we go back to your Argo CD right now, this is nothing but like my Argo CD. If you look here, if our application is got created, the application is name, we can see about like blue hyphen, we can see sync is okay, and it's showing about like large sync, it is showing about like okay, and we don't have any errors. We can see about like auto sync, it is got enabled. Now if we go back here, we can see that it is going to ask you about like whenever you are trying to make some changes. Now I want to check about the what is the cluster name. If we just go to my dashboard, we can see that whenever you register and we got one cluster name, I told you about like we have to make some changes in the cluster. uh, we can see once you logged in, and after that you are trying to install the Argo rollout. Before that, you can see this is nothing but like my cluster name. Yeah. Now we have to copy this cluster name. So once we just copy this cluster name, after that, what we have to do, you have to go back here. So where we have to go back, now we have to go back to your file, click on the edit right now. Once you edit here, if we come down, this is nothing but like cluster that we have, right? I just need to make some changes inside this particular cluster. We can see it showing about like B6, that is what it is, updated one. Go back here. I'm just need to press control. And if you go back here, click on the save changes. Now, if you go back to your GitHub repository, under GitHub repository, go back to retail app and click on this particular templates. And if we go to argo-application.yaml file, we can see that whether we have done. I think it is got right now we have updated. If we go back to my, we can see that now it's showing about like sync, it is okay. It is trying to, we can see about it is trying to showing about like, or trying to auto sync, it is got enabled. And whatever we have done deployments inside this particular cluster, that everything it is going to showing about there right now. If we look at my screen, like what's exactly that we are doing, it is now it is going to be trying to sync with your Argo CD right now. And we can see that once again, it is trying to point it to the which look at here. This is nothing but like, yeah, it is pointed to this particular changes. Let me try to go back to edit right now. I have to go back to the Shine here. We have to make some changes. Go to the code, copy this. I just need to go back to this file, and we can see that there is a repo URL, right? We had to provide the repo URL. And also we have to make changes the B2 and the branch name we can see about like main branch. Now after that we have to come back. Yeah, this is nothing, this is fine. And we can see the prune lost. I'm just trying to delete the everything, whatever that we have previously. Or you don't want to do that, just skip go back to here, click on the save changes. Once you are just trying to make some changes here, let's see about like what we are doing it now. I just need to wait for it. Uh, yes. Now we can see it is just, yeah, if we go back to now, go back to this particular, what we can say about like the YAML file, whatever that we deployed. If we just go back to my GitHub repository now, where is the GitHub repository? I think here is, we have the GitHub repository. If we come down, if we go back to the retail app, now if you just go back to your templates here, now if you go back to Argo-application, we can see about like, here we have to make some changes. Here we have to actually, we have to modify the URL. Now here we had to mention about like branch name, it is main branch. Now we had to click on the commit changes, click on the commit back. Yeah, now it looks good. Okay. Now go back to my Argo CD. Yeah, now if you click on we can see that now if you click on this right now, the values, now edit this one. Once you edit here, now you make some changes. It will take automatically the changes, whatever it is available inside the my GitHub repository. The branch name, we had to mention about like main branch. Now go back here. We had to click on the save changes. Now you see that we can see that B26 Shine, we can see the GitHub project. And also we can just look at here. There is something it is called as a main. Also we can see that. That means completely we can see that it is got synced right now. Once it is got synced, I can see about like my applications, whatever that we deployed inside my cluster. Can you guys see my screen? If we go back to the zoom out here, if you look at my screen, this is nothing but like my Argo CD. In that, we can look at my screen. I have two MongoDB pods and three. Look at here, I can see about like there are three pods running. If we go back here, my cluster, I'll show you about like how to access it. If I type the command called kubectl get pods, we can see about like how many pods that we have. If we type the command called kubectl, we can see about like get svc. You are going to get one load balancer. This is the load balancer, and we can look at here. It works on port number 3130. Go back to your yeah, and here we have to mention about like 3130. Once you hit the enter, that you are able to access the application. For example, I'm going to providing all the information here. Let's say, for example, the email address. This is nothing but like phone number and the address. I'm going to provide the password here. This is the password. Now, if you click on the register, once again, I have to give the password what I want to. Yeah. Now click on the register. See, you are going to register. So if you are going to register, we can just look at it. It's going to ask you about like email address, right? If I'm just trying to provide the email address, if I'm going to put the password is, we can see this is a password. If we click on the login, that we can see about like it's showing about login failed. Because whenever you are giving something, it is called as a wrong password. It is showing about like login, it has got failed. This is nothing but like how we can able to provide the validations. You guys also can able to access the application that whatever we deployed, right? Go back here. I'm just trying to share the URL in the chat box. See whether you guys can able to access the, this particular application or not. And confirm if you guys are able to access. Can I get some responses, please?
Maybe they are not able to see the URL. Let me share it with them.
Yeah, they're asking about like where did you share this? Is that everyone able to access right now? Now, whenever you are trying to perform the what we can say about like rollout and rollback operations, you had to go back to that. If you just look at my source code here, the scripts, whatever that we implemented, there is something it is called as a values.ml file. Whenever you want to make this particular change of the image name, and if you wanted to pass any environment variables, if you want to make the changes, everything that we can able to pass by using this particular values.ml file. You can't able to make any changes inside the source code, or we can say about like scripts like whatever that we have written. This is something that we have to understanding about like what is exactly mean by how we can able to setting up the CI/CD pipeline for the Argo CD. Now, whenever you are trying to make any changes in the code, my Argo CD is going to sync automatically all the changes. We can see that this is nothing but last sync what it is got right now. And we can see about like the complete applications. If anything is goes out of this sync here, if you click on this one, it is going to show you about like out of sync here. And if there is some issues right now, we can able to click on this. We can see about like what issues that we have. And for example, if there is something it is for progressing, we can just look at here. It is showing about like what is progressing here. The complete health of this application also we can able to see over here. See, for example, if you just, this is what we can call as a replica sets. We can see SVCs that whatever that we created. Now, if we just, for example, if you click on this one, and you see that there is an option that we have, call it as a live manifesto file. There is something it is called as a desired manifesto files. So whenever you want to make some changes, we can able to make some changes inside the live manifesto files, and we can able to save it. We can see this is nothing but live manifesto files. What it is created automatically by my Argo CD here. See, for example, if you go with this particular user profile rollouts, we can able to see about like what is a script that we have used. Now this is nothing but my live manifesto files and which image that we deployed that we can able to see over there. So this is something that we have to understanding about like how we can able to perform the CI/CD pipelines. So basically, this is nothing but like our page. There is a page called the Clahan Technologies, and this is nothing but my LinkedIn. So where we are going to talk about like trending technologies whenever there is a new trend coming up in the AI or AI apps or DevOps, DevSecOps. So you guys can follow that page and also follow the Shine.com page also for the more updates. Now it's time for the questions. I'm just trying to take up some questions. I'm going to clarify if we have any questions. I'm just going to explain that.
Yes, we have a few questions, but before that, I would like to request everyone that we have one session feedback form. Uh, do fill it out, and then we will move to the questions also. Uh, uh, should I start reading questions, sir?
I can see the questions. Okay.
Okay, so we have two, three different questions also, which people are asking on like live.
So how the YAML file and Docker file integration happened? See, Docker file, it is completely different. That means the Docker file we have written to building a Docker image to push the Docker image inside the hub.docker.com. If you look at here, this is what is the Docker file that we have written. And we can just look at here, we have, the Docker file to build the Docker images. Now it is not integration here. Once we building a Docker image, then we have to write something, it is called as a manifest file in the Kubernetes. So if you just look at the user profile rollout.ml file, in that, this whatever the image that we are deploying right now, this image that we are deploy inside the Kubernetes platform. So we can see that this is where we can able to see your image. The image we have to pass here so that it is going to deploy automatically inside the Kubernetes platform. This is how we have to do it. Yeah. Next. The question is, where is the relation Mongo mentioned GitHub and Docker? See, GitHub is, if you just go to something, it is called as a workflows. If we just go back to my, what we can say about like workflows, look at my script right now. 1 second. If we go back to GitHub repository, this is nothing but like, we have written something, it is called as a GitHub workflow, right? If we go to here, there is something, it is called Docker image, right? There is a relation right now. We can see that we are talking about like, this is nothing but like, where is my code, in which branch my code is available. And once it is going to clone the code, I'm just asking to build the Docker images. To building a Docker images, we are using something, it is called buildx. Yep. Where we can find the document to set up, install Argo Seed. See, everything is available in this particular Shine GitOps project, the repo, which is available publicly in my GitHub repository. If you type github.com/m social123, you guys can able to see over there. That is also first, we can see that. The next one, where done in YAML file can we do in UI? See, any application that whatever that you are deploying inside the Kubernetes or any platform that you take in DevOps, we don't want to deploy any applications by using UI. It is a manual efforts. That is, to overcome that manual efforts, we are going to do something, it is called as automations. That is the reason you should learn about how to write scripts. As a DevOps, it is your responsibility to automate these scripts, everything. Next question. Where we have used Terraform here, what is the use of it? And please explain. See, for example, you are looking at the cluster, right? This is nothing but like cluster, what you are looking at my screen. Or if you go back to this something, it is called as my AWS. You see that this is nothing but my cluster. What are the cluster that you want? You want to create this cluster. For this, you have to write something, it is called as a Terraform scripts. Without writing Terraform scripts, we can't able to create any infrastructure. So if you look at your my architecture, for example, if you just go back to my architecture, what are the components that we can able to identify in this architecture? All the like EKS clusters, security groups, or we can see about like MongoDB, or we can see about like NAT gateway or web servers, Azure Connectivity, Argo CD, everything that we have to create by using the scripts. We don't want to create anything is manually. That is the reason we have to understanding about like why we have to go with the Terraform here. Terraform is basically infrastructure as a tool. You want to deploy the application that you require infrastructure. It could be nothing but a server here. Yeah. Can I replace DevOps tools or methodologies? AI. See, AI, it is trying to help you to automate. It is trying to help you to save the time. See, a lot of configuration that we require. AI cannot able to do the configuration in DevOps because DevOps is a methodology, right? For every project, we have to use different tools, different configuration that we have to do it. For example, you want to integrate the Docker with the Jenkins. I want to integrate Kubernetes with the Jenkins. So it's very difficult to, we can see about like replace AI with the configurations. It can help us to generate a script here. For example, if you go to a ChatGPT or if you go to DeepSeek, if we ask, this is a repository I have. See, for example, if we let's go to DeepSeek here. If we just go back DeepSeek right now, for example, I'm going to provide the, let me just 1 second. I'm just trying to provide the GitHub URL. This is a URL that we have right now. Okay. Go back to this URL. And we can see this is nothing but like my URL. And we can say I'm telling about like the branch. Okay. We can see the branch name, it is main branch. And I can say about like, I want to implement, let's say, uh, main branch. And I want to implement, we can say that implement a GitHub uh, actions to build a Docker image and push the Docker image inside the hub.docker.com. Now you are telling about like, hub.com credentials. You have to give complete prompt credentials. Okay. Let's say username. I'm giving the Murali social 123 at the rate gmail.com. And we can see about like password. We can, this is nothing but like my password. Okay. Can see. Okay. Now it is going to ask you to generate the code. It will just automatically generate the code, whatever that we require. You can just look at here. You have to give any parameters, how you want to design the pipeline. It is going to give the complete pipelines. Only thing is you have to give the right prompt. Once you're going to provide the right prompt, it will give the complete script, whatever that we require. But before you do it blindly, I'm requesting guys to learn the syntaxes, rules, everything. That is very, very important. I'm requesting you guys to look at the syntaxes, rules, what rules that we have to follow, everything we have to understand. The next one, which is the better to use GitHub runners or self-host or GitHub runners? We can use something it is called as a two different techniques here. Runners means which going to provide with the GitHub, right? Self-host means like where you want to specifically run this pipeline. You want to run on this particular pipeline specifically on the particular mission. You have the existing infrastructure. We can able to map that, that's you have to completely depending on this particular what we can say and the requirement. For my case, what we implement for the client is we are using CI as a runners only. For we deploying something it is called as a Argo CD on the Kubernetes platform. Next, Jenkins using can we do the same use for Argo CD? Argo CD especially the design for the Helm charts. Jenkins they have not designed especially for what we can say about like for Helm charts. So I can highly recommend it for use Argo CD for GitOps for CI/CD pipelines. That's straightforward answer. See, I'm trying to deploy the MERN stack application in the Edge cluster that contains the front-end, back-end, Mongo database, back-end database connected, but my front application not able to connect with the back-end. So how we can able to solve this problem? See, there is something it is called as the environment variables. So whenever you want to make the communication to two different services like front-end, back-end and all, we should understanding about like how you are able to make the communication to front-end to back-end. See, for that, we have to use environment variables. Nothing but like MongoDB URL, you have to pass. See, if you look at the code, the what are the application that we deployed, if you go to server.js file, they were clearly talking about like environment variables. This is nothing but like my environment variable showing about like this is nothing but like my MongoDB, or we can see about like what is the port number, what is the email user, what is the email passcode, the complete things I can able to see over there. That's what exactly that we have to understand about like. So with the only environment variables only, we can able to make the communication between these particular two services. That's what we have to understand about the this question answer. The next one. So how we can able to use Python in the Docker file integration? See Python files, why we have to use it? The first you had your question is not clear. So please try to mention the clear question, Jay Chandra, and after that I can answer your question. Why Argo is used when AWS had deployment, the AWS had deployment option. There is something it is called generic DevOps. There is something it is called inbuilt DevOps. When I say something, it is called generic DevOps. It's nothing but like, code commit, code pipeline, code deploy, all this what we can call inbuilt, which going to provide the, but it is not much what we can say about like, mm, user friendly here. So they are giving an option to use it, but I need a user friendly to have the capability to manage a robust and a scalable pipelines. That is the reason we had to go for something. It is called as a generic DevOps job. Yeah, I mean AWS also for deployment. Yeah, that's what I answer the question. Next one is, uh, what are the key benefits, um, risks using auto sync in the Argo CD? See, whenever you are trying to make the changes, then only it is going to be sync. You have to be mindful what you are trying to make the changes, why you are trying to make the changes, and when you go for that is the reason we are going to do something. It is called blue-green deployment strategy. So we are going to maintain the separate values.ml file to make sure understanding about like how we can able to create this particular the changes. So it will take 8 seconds of time to sync the changes whatever that we are doing it. Yeah. Next question is, let's say I want to learn ML and GitHub Actions from basic to advanced, where I can learn to deploy resources. I can say that you guys always go ahead and see there is something it is called as official documentations. There is no good guide or good mentor, out of the official documentations. So I can recommend to go through the official documentations of GitHub Actions and see about the fundamental syntaxes, parameters, or the rules what they have, and after that we can able to be proficient on that. Can we get connect you teach during the sessions? See, personally, I run some trainings like public batches. If anyone interested, you guys can ping me. I can help you on that. That's fine. Next, I think that's all the questions.
Uh,
We got 16 questions.
yes, yes. We have two more questions on our chat box.
Yeah, yeah. For every cluster, we need to create different Docker images, or can we do it with only one? See, Soumya. Soumya, first we have to understand why you are going for Docker. Docker is for microservices. Whenever I'm just going for the microservices, we can see that every application has different microservices. Let's say we have the cart application, end user application, notifications, or catalog applications, orders, payment services, order tracking services. There are different services that we have. Each and every microservices, it contains the different Docker images. Let's say, for example, if you go to my, what we can say, my GitHub repository, there is a repository called as a microservice demo application here. So once we just go to microservice demo application, you see there is something it is called as a SRC folder. In the SRC folder, you can see there are different microservices that we have. We have something it is called add service, cart service, checkout service, current service, email service, front-end service, load generator. We can see there are different services that we have, right? If you look at here, every microservices contains one Docker file. That means every microservices definitely contains the one different Docker images. If you go back to the architecture here, if you come down a little bit here, you see that there is something, one second. I'm in the add services. Go back to the first page. If you look at here the architecture, we can see that every architecture, every microservices contains the different Docker images. That's you have to understand. Okay. Next one, Mamata. Which one is good for Python or Java? If you want to become DevOps engineer, I can recommend to go with the Python. You don't need to be a Java developer because you are choosing some different domain. It is not related to the coding, but you should understand what is front end, what is back end, and different programming syntaxes. Even though you are not working in the programming side, but I can highly recommend to learn some basic on every programming languages. So if you are choosing DevOps as your career, definitely I can recommend you to go with the Python. Don't go with the Java.
Thank you. So we are done with the questions now.
Yeah, I think all the questions done.
Yes. Is there like before ending the session, is there anything which you want to convey to our audience who are watching us right now and some people will watch this session after some time.
What I can say is nothing but like guys, I started my startup from last one and a half year we completed. So before I was working with the DevOps in different companies, but out of my experience as an entrepreneur, I can say that DevOps has good scope in the market. You take DevOps, AIOps, DevSecOps, SRE, platform engineering. These are all these particular trending, what we can say, technologies. Even though it has a lot of tools you have guys start to learn them. But once you spend some time, 3 months or 6 months to get good knowledge on these particular tools, definitely I can say that you are going to have very good future. See, some of my students who got trained with me, I mean to say, as mentioned previously, I was into corporate trainings from last 5 years. I trained so far 45 companies. Along with the public batches, I delivered 40 batches, public batches, with my personal batches. So there are so many people they got placed. For example, one of my student he got placed with a 3 years experience. He got the 115K dollars. That means in our Indian rupees 98 lakhs as a package in US. He got it. Recently, one of students she got placed in TC with a 10 lakhs package with 3 years of experience. So why I'm talking about all these things is nothing but like you should understand some facts. See, if anyone is here who college passed out freshly 2025, for them I will not recommend to go with the DevOps because for freshers there is no scope in the DevOps. If you want to become like DevOps engineers, definitely you should have something. It is called as a one from at least you should have 2 years experience, 3, 4, 5, 6 year experience. For them, he has good market. For freshers, definitely there is a less scope. So instead of you are going for DevOps profile, go with something it is called programming, like Java, go with the Python. Like for example, right now data science is very booming up because everything is AI, right? You should learn how to use the AI models, how to train the AI models, how to implement AI models. This is very, very important for you guys to understand about it. So please do some hard work. There is no shortcut or there is no shortcut to get success apart from hard work. So definitely, I'm requesting you guys to understand about the trending technology, what is trending in the market, what you have to learn. See, if you want to be an IT professional, definitely you have to be consistently learn the technology. If you stop learning, that means you can't see progress in your career because someone is going to overcome or someone is going to run away very faster. Or for example, you take about the 100 meters running. See, we're going to lose gold medal with a fraction of seconds. The same thing here. It is a running race. You have to run until you are there in the IT sector. Otherwise, there is no scope for it. That is what my inputs for you guys. So I all the best for everyone, those who are listening this webinar, and have a great day and great career ahead. Focusing more on the Docker, Kubernetes, and we can say Terraform, Ansible, and GitHub Actions because Jenkins is timeout. It is nowhere Jenkins is using. We are going for GitHub Actions, or we are going for something it is called as a other tools like TeamCity, Circle CI, Bamboo there in the market. So they are also using implementing on the every organization. So all the best for everyone, guys.
Thank you so much, sir, for delivering such an insightful session. We are really grateful for the time and energy you have invested in sharing your knowledge. And to everyone who have joined us today, thank you for being part of this learning experience. And still, if you guys have any question, please feel free to reach out to us or connect with sir directly. And the session recordings are also available on our YouTube and LinkedIn account, so you can revisit it anytime. We look forward to having you join us again in upcoming session. Until then, take care, keep learning, and have an
There
amazing
is a
day.
question in that chat box. Will answer that last one.
Yeah.
How do you recommend DevOps trainings, learnings for project program managers? See, I'll tell you to be frank. There is a company called EY. Everyone aware about it, right? See, the company currently I'm giving training for them 2 hours every day, 9 to 11 o'clock. The company itself, they design one POC for them and they ask us to train the managers. it's not about like, you are a technical manager or you are a, mid-level senior engineer or team leader. It doesn't matter about it. You have to learn the trending technologies. Definitely, it is one of the most important thing is you have to be in the market, learn about like what is in trending. That's what companies are looking for. For example, if you are as a manager, your team is making some mistakes, you should be in a position to guide them. What mistakes they are doing and where we can able to rectify it, how we can able to do cost automation for the client, and how do you want to implement monitoring setups, how we can able to do that FinOps research. These things definitely it is required as a manager that you have to do it. For that, DevOps is going to help you out. Very simple.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Bye bye. Take care. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Priti.
Bye bye. Take